was reaching his limit. The piglet pushed him up the hill, but she was also exhausted. They walked a little further despite this. When they reached the nearest shade, they lay down on the grass, worn out. The piglet caught her breath while watching a dandelion. There were many of them around as she began observing them. This caused her to be momentarily distracted by their beauty. However, the mushroom wanted to know if it was safe to stay in that spot. Something catches his attention. The place is vast, the plain stretches to the sea, and there are enormous creatures flying in the sky. This world can be very dangerous, but it's beautiful in equal measure. While he was daydreaming, the system screen appeared in front of him. It informed him that this world resembles his own, with natural laws and its own ecosystem, and he imagined himself at the lowest part of the food chain. If it weren't for the piglet, he would already be dead, but he didn't want to give up. He planned to become stronger and one day return to his original world. With this in mind, he called for the system, which responded promptly. He asked for another mission to receive more rewards. There were 3 difficulty levels: easy, medium, and hard. It was up to him to choose. Fortune favors the bold, so he decided to check the hard mission. He would have to defeat one of the divine generals of the Storm Grass King. That was definitely beyond his reach. So he opted for the easiest mission instead. He needed to collect 10 red berries, which would earn him 50 experience points. When eaten, they would restore a bit of health and reduce hunger. He thought this would be very easy, so he called the piglet to go with him. The little mushroom started running through the grass. He began his search for those small fruits. Soon enough, he found a small cluster of them. Additionally, there were many more like those in that area. The mission was definitely easy. Before long, he had collected 6 of the 10 berries. The piglet was quick and managed to pick a few more as well. But the mushroom noticed something strange and became confused. His mission progress had dropped to 4 berries. Hungry, she had started eating the berries he had collected. She had simply eaten them all. Furious, he scolded the piglet for eating all the items he needed to complete the mission. Enraged, he was determined to show her who was really in charge. He swung his hand swiftly toward the piglet, but his insignificant blow was absorbed by her and she didn't even notice it was an attack. She continued eating the berries calmly. Adjusting her position, she accidentally bumped into the mushroom, sending him flying. Feeling she had bumped into something, she looked back. Then she wagged her tail, happy to be with the mushroom. He was terrified, thinking she intended to attack him and retaliate. In the end, she tossed him playfully into the air, thinking it was a game. Now he had a new mission, to collect 30 fruits to earn 70 experience points and an inventory box. Next, he needed to catch 15 fish to earn 80 experience points, using his spores to make the task easier. Then he collected 20 mineral stones to gain 100 experience points. Time passed as he completed these missions and the day moved on. Eventually, he reached level 9 with 75 health points and 39 attack points. The piglet ate everything he gathered, and despite working hard, he only gained 3 levels. Exhausted, he thought about resting as well. Snoring, she dreamt of all the things she had eaten. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he decided to take on one more easy mission while the pig was sleeping. He needed to absorb all the items he had collected to earn 200 experience points and an exclusive skill. Another mission offering a special reward. Absorbing everything he had collected was the easiest mission of the day. He had opened his inventory to retrieve what he still had stored. With that, a pile of food appeared. The smell of it reached the piglet's nose. This made her wake up immediately, wagging her tail in happiness. The mushroom told her she had already eaten plenty in the morning, and that this was his. Upon hearing his refusal, she looked disheartened. Just as he was about to eat the fruit, he glanced at her out of the corner of his eye. Feeling pity, he threw her the fruit he was about to eat. She had definitely been sad, but that small gesture lifted her mood. She danced with joy for receiving that fruit. Since he got a few extra items, he decided to give her the excess, but he asked her to eat sparingly because he didn't plan to give her more once she finished eating. Sitting under the tree's shade, they both ate. Taking a bite of the stone, he ended up fracturing one of his teeth. The truth was, he had no idea how to eat that stone. So he asked the system how he should do it. Reviewing the mission status, he realized he hadn't absorbed anything yet. This made him question if the system was tracking it correctly, as he had already eaten 5 berries in total. The system hinted that he should carefully consider what the mission was asking him to do. It was to absorb, not just eat the fruits. Finally, he realized that the absorption process might be different. That large mushroom from earlier had absorbed the mantis by sitting on it. Looking at his own underside, he wondered if he would have to do the same to absorb the items. Finally, the moon rose into the sky full of stars. Scattered on the ground were the items he needed to absorb. He sits on the fish. Immediately, his backside begins the absorption process. His mission was finally completed. The feeling of eating in this way is truly mysterious, to say the least. With this, he had enough experience to level up once again. He is now level 10 and has learned the decomposition skill. If mushrooms belong to nature's decomposers, he wonders what this skill is for. The decomposed matter is used to nourish the player. He can do this with monsters up to level 20 and inorganic matter. He understood its purpose, but after absorbing all of that, he feels quite tired. That mission was of easy difficulty, but in practice, it felt like a medium one. The little pig sleeps happily with her apple given by the mushroom. Watching her, he imagines they've done enough for the day. It was time to rest for the adventures that would begin at dawn. The day breaks, and the little pig is determined to eat all the apples she can find. His next mission is to kill 10 monsters from that region. His missions, although easy, are gradually becoming more challenging. However, he and the pig are now level 10. As long as the monsters are weaker, they won't have difficulties. Stubby called her over, as if she was satisfied it was time to begin the mission. This world is still different from a game. Monsters don't just appear out of nowhere. While they walked, the pig's attention noticed something. Both she and the mushroom became alert. They had spotted the first target of the day. This small creature is a slime. It is at level 8 and can only be defeated when its heart is damaged. When it dies, it becomes a gel used as an ingredient in some medical recipes. They prepare to move towards the slime. With no time to lose, the time for the fight has come for both of them. The mushroom uses its charge, hitting the slime squarely. This causes it to be thrown across the grass. The impact's force left it disoriented. The mushroom believes that one more strike should be enough to finish off that creature. The little pig also advances. It's her turn to attack. Her strike is strong enough to make the creature explode. After that, she lands calmly on the ground. She turns majestically towards her mushroom companion. Such a display of strength left him shocked. Even though they are at the same level, he's nowhere near her abilities. But this filled him with anger. He had finally found a weak monster for the mission, and she stole the achievement that should have been his. However, the system counted that creature, and the tally had begun. Moreover, he received 9 experience points for it. The pig spits a stone from her mouth, and she threw it towards the mushroom, who looked at it suspiciously. With the stone in his hands, he started observing the object. The team stone, which had absorbed a lot of moon energy. When two recognize each other as a team, they share missions and experience. This stone was among those they had collected before. He and the little pig are a team now. He looks at his colleague, intrigued. The little pig seems a bit down about what happened. He apologized to her and promised to find something tasty for her to eat soon. With these simple words, a little pig's mood was restored. Immediately, she began to move through the forest. She looked everywhere as if searching for something. The mushroom only hopes she doesn't understand that by forming a team, all they will do is chase after food. But he chose not to think about it, as she had proven to be truly reliable. They had now destroyed 4 monsters. All they managed to kill were slimes, and they even had to flee from stronger monsters. The mission won't be easy. As they walked, he asked where the little pig was taking him if they weren't lost. Until she decided to stop near a root, a piece of the plant moved quickly toward them, but the little pig managed to dodge, avoiding contact. Alert, the mushroom asked who was attacking them. From inside a dry tree, there was a pair of glowing eyes. The possessed stump is at level 18. It is resistant to flames and is a fusion of evil spirits with the trunk of a dead tree. Once discovered, it attacks them with much more aggression. Even so, the duo managed to dodge the monster's attack. Looking at the mark on the ground left by the attack, the mushroom was surprised by the strength of a higher-level monster. They need to be cautious, as they already have some synergy. They exchange confident looks. With quick evasive maneuvers, they execute a combined attack. As soon as the distance is reduced, both charge forward, ready to strike that cursed stump. Without defending itself, the monster is hit directly by them. Even though they attacked, the force of the impact repels them away, putting the effectiveness of the attack in doubt. The mushroom miscalculated. He didn't expect the recoil from the attack to cause injuries to him and the little pig. Worried, he looks to the side to see if the little pig managed to recover from the damage. The recoil was worse for her because her attack has a chance to stun the target. However, if its defense is too high, the attacker gets stunned instead. Meanwhile, the stump stands firm and strong, seemingly unscathed. Facing a monster 8 levels stronger than them is truly challenging. But this is no ordinary mushroom, and he has an idea. While he was thinking, the stump attacked again, this time targeting the little pig, who is out of combat due to being stunned. To block the view of the attack, he uses a spore explosion. The cloud obscures the vision, and amidst it, the mushroom manages to rescue his friend, who is still stunned. Soon, the mist begins to dissipate, and the stump searches for them. It looks around, unaware of what is happening. The mist finally clears, but doesn't find them anywhere. Since it doesn't intend to search for them, it continues its way through the forest, ignoring the fact that they were there. Finding a spot among the bushes, it goes back to pretending to be just an innocent wooden stump. The mushroom is relieved that they are faster than it and manage to hide. The little pig is conscious again. Unfortunately, her nostrils pick up the smell of the spores. This drives her crazy, and she rushes out of the hiding spot, to the mushroom's complete despair. He does his best to hold her back and prevent them from getting into more trouble. At that moment, she was being a terrible team member, ignoring the danger of the situation. Happily, she starts licking the mushroom's cap. Faced with the situation, he feels powerless and simply asks her not to eat him. Partially understanding what he said, the little pig suggested they should look for something else since they can't defeat that stump. However, he is determined and says it's all part of his infallible plan. Still hiding, he is sure the monster isn't too far from them. Among the wood, small mushrooms start sprouting. Soon they are completely whole and functional. As if sick, the stump begins to lose its health, 5 points at a time. This is the moment the mushroom orders the little pig to attack the enemy. She agrees with him and gets ready to charge. Both jump towards the stump, which is now agonizing from the infection. Once again, they strike it with all their strength. This time, there was no recoil damage, and they managed to land on the ground normally. The monster had been defeated by them. He gained 100 experience points, and the little pig gained 70. With this victory, both advanced to level 11. This made him enthusiastic. This strategy is effective against any stump they may encounter in the forest. As his friend continues walking, he briefly becomes pensive. Then he asks her to wait a moment. She looks back to see what's happening. The mushroom climbed onto the body of the defeated monster and pressed his cap against it. He is determined to use all of his power to absorb that matter. The absorption process finally begins. He makes an effort to decompose the entire body. At the end of the process, he spent 50 mana points, but he had achieved his goal. This increased his proficiency with this skill, and he gained 200 experience points and 2 additional skills. Now the decomposition is on cooldown. Unfortunately, despite gaining a lot of experience, he can only use decomposition again in 24 hours. Looking at the system, he wanted to know what one-time use skills are. These are 2 skills he acquired from this monster, which he can only use once. If they have a duration, they are limited to a maximum of 10 minutes. Camouflage makes him become an object of the environment, and bark skin turns her into wood, increasing her defense. Because of this, he became very confident that he will be able to defeat the Demon King. The sky is illuminated by the moonlight, and inside his shelter, it is possible to see there is light within. The campfire burns, lifting soot into the air. Next to it, the little pig sleeps peacefully. The mushroom is now at level 15, and his attack and health points are significantly higher. The same can be said for the little pig, who is now at level 14. Even though their progress is linear, he knows that stopping Golem's followers is now simply impossible. Pensive, he asks the system how long it will take to change class if he continues at this pace. The system tells him that monsters do not change classes but grow stronger through evolution. This is a new possibility for him, as he doesn't know what evolution entails. Each monster has its own evolutionary paths, but they can also acquire special mutations depending on their environment. Because of this, he wants to know when he will be able to evolve. The first evolution mission will come at level 20, the second at level 40, and so on. He is only 5 levels away, and he wants to know the most powerful path for a mushroom to take. He doesn't want to become like that rock he saw earlier. The system can show him some evolutionary paths, but each one will cost 200 gold coins. Seeing that he needs to pay for the information, he becomes a little pensive. The system was finally showing him how truly stingy it is. However, the system claims to be generous and will show him 1 evolutionary path for free. With 100 iron ores and 100 bronze, he can become a rock. With almost 1,000 diamonds, a pair of glasses, and 1,000,000 coins, he will become a diamond mushroom. That last mushroom seemed interesting. Then the system says that if he knows in advance he could already start collecting the necessary materials, this will only cost 200 gold coins. It was the fact that he needed to pay that made him pensive. Because of this, he said that the system is not stupid, but it is surprising that it expects a monster to have money. In response, the system said that where there's a will, there's a way. If he were human, he could even manage that, but as a mushroom, it's a bit more challenging. Negotiating, the system asks what he thinks about replacing money with materials. He stands up calmly and says it won't be necessary. No matter what it says, he already has an evolutionary path in mind. Curious about his stance, the system wants to know what he wants to become. Confidently, the mushroom says he will become the Mushroom King. Dawn finally breaks. It is the second day of hunting. He dodges his slashing attack with skill. The little pig does the same and is very focused. They are prepared to defeat that enemy. The praying mantis stands before them, ready to unleash more slashing attacks. This is a medium difficulty mission that will grant 500 experience points. The 3 of them are staring at each other intensely, as if in a duel where the first to make a mistake will die. The mushroom uses the stump's ability, and his skin starts to turn into wood. With the added resistance, he advances to attack. The praying mantis prepares to strike as soon as he gets closer. Thus, it executes its slash with precision and effectiveness. The monster falls, crouching on the grass. Behind it, the mushroom remains unharmed. He slowly turns, full of confidence. He said that the praying mantis attacks no longer work on him. Calmly, the monster places its blade in its sheath. It slides it in as if it were a samurai. Finally, the mushroom notices that the top of his cap had been cut. That single attack took 75 health points from him, leaving him in despair, thinking he might die. With his little fingers, he signals for the little pig to come closer. They whisper briefly about how they plan to execute the next attack. Finishing the conversation, he pats her. Now it's her turn to do her part, and the mushroom is confident in his partner. Still in combat, the praying mantis remains vigilant of its surroundings. It looks to the other side to locate its enemies. In front of it is the little pig, confident. She begins to circle around it. Suddenly, she charges toward the monster. It responds in kind, ready to attack. It is prepared to draw its blade and deliver a lethal blow. With great speed, it draws its blade and unleashes a triple slash. Its cuts sweep through the air with devastating force, but the little pig manages to dodge the first one. The second slash also misses her. She completely evades the attack and is now closer to the monster. She manages to land a direct hit with her attack. However, using the back of its blade, the praying mantis manages to defend itself. Behind it, there is a wooden stump waiting patiently. It's the mushroom who had used his camouflage there. Even though it's strong, this monster is not at all attentive to its surroundings, which is why the mushroom rock finished it off suddenly. Overconfident, he lets go of the branch he was holding. The small branch falls to the ground on the plain. Now the small mushroom prepares his stance to attack. He charges with a deadly thrust towards the praying mantis. He is close to striking it while it's unprotected. The monster notices the sudden approach. In the last moments, it tries to turn to face him. But the brutal impact happens, and now its head no longer has a body to call its own. Despite being dangerous, it had been defeated by them. As a result, they receive experience, 300 points for the little pig and 340 for the mushroom. Completing the mission caused them both to level up again. His charge ability is now at level 4. He boasts about being a professional player. With strategy, stronger monsters are not a challenge. So he asks the system for another medium difficulty mission. He must go to the Mushroom Kingdom, but the system warns him that the journey is long and he should be careful with his stamina, as if he exhausts it, he could be preyed upon by weak monsters. Curious about where this kingdom is located, he wanted to know if it was far from there. But the system says it's not that far, just 400 kilometers away. After hearing that, he looks at the road, deep in thought. It could only be the system messing with him. The system says there's no need to walk there and that it can tell him a faster way for a mere 200 coins. Ignoring the system, he looks at the little pig and says it's great to have her as company at times like these. That made her feel very proud of her abilities. The system remains silent after being ignored. So the day goes by, and he continues his journey to the Mushroom Kingdom. With much effort, they advance 20 kilometers towards the destination. His strategy was to place an apple in front of the little pig. But now she is exhausted after so much walking. Walking this way is too tiring, and he only has 33 stamina points left. At this rate, the system says he can only walk another 18 kilometers before his stamina runs out. He needs to rest. Even with the help of the little pig, they didn't get very far, and she only has 12 stamina points left. He should have expected this to happen since the mission is of medium difficulty. It wouldn't be easy. The system says he cannot cancel a mission once accepted, but maybe he could think of another way to get there. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the money to pay the system and cheekily asks if he could receive a freebie. But the system says it won't give any tips until it's paid, even knowing he doesn't have money. He just wants to know who was the smart one who made it, so he needed money to use the system. The system suggests that the player explore his skills. He might discover something new. That's indeed an interesting tip. So the mushroom started thinking about what he could do. While he was thinking, something moved quickly. An impact occurred on the ground, raising debris into the air. Both he and the little pig are anxious as they don't know what's happening. From the dust cloud, a staff emerges. 2 people are there now, and they seem to be mages. They are definitely humans. With his assessment, he discovers that the hooded figure is at level 28. It seems to be the same mage from before, and now he is much stronger. The mushroom worked hard and is still only at level 16. The other mage is at level 36 and says he has finally found what he was looking for. They walk towards the spot where the mushroom is. The hooded one is levitating and getting closer to them. The little pig steps out of her hiding spot. She boldly places herself between the mage and the mushroom. She stomps her foot on the ground, furious, but they continue approaching. The mushroom is paralyzed and asks his companion to return to him as she could die. Without any hesitation, the mage kicks the little pig out of his way. The blow is strong and she flies far away. It leaves her devastated and she can't get up. Because of this, the mushroom is left speechless by such unprovoked aggression. But the mages pass by him without caring. The hooded one found it strange that such low-level demons were in that place. With what happened, the mushroom is still paralyzed. The bald mage turns to the storm hawk eggs as he had risked his life to find them. These eggs are necessary for his class change. Carefully, he takes one in his hands. He had finally found it, and the mushroom remains there, completely paralyzed. The danger posed by these two is immense. Involuntarily, he fires his spore explosion. The two start coughing from the mist. The bald one didn't expect the mushroom to be able to perform this skill. His companion said he had seen one do that before, but they needed to leave quickly as the place is very dangerous. Recovered, the little pig starts running towards them again, filled with rage. Her attack is set, ready to hit either of the two. She leaps furiously at them. Now the little pig is almost about to strike the bald one. However, the tip of his staff begins to glow. Mysteriously, he vanished from her sight. The little pig was left confused, but it was too late to stop her attack. Thus, she collided with the stone in front of her. The impact left her stunned once again, and she fell onto the small tree into the hawk's nest. She is now lying on one of the remaining eggs, but she is completely unaware of what is happening there. The force of her strike caused the stone to crack considerably. As the cracks began to spread, they grew larger. The mushroom is worried. If she hadn't attacked, they might have had a chance to escape. Looking more closely at the mushroom, the mage wonders if he is a variant, as he even has arms and legs. The tree's roots lift one of the stones. This immediately makes the mages apprehensive. As a defense mechanism, this plant releases the tension in its roots, causing the rocks to spin dangerously. Aware of the danger, the humans back away from the stones. The mushroom also does his best to avoid getting caught in it. If he isn't fast enough, he will end up getting hit. To escape effectively, he used his charge. He aimed for the top of the plant where the disoriented little pig was. Skillfully, he managed to reach where she was. But looking down, he realizes that it was very dangerous. The root continues to spin uncontrollably with the stone. Inevitably, it hits another plant that was standing still. This causes the roots of that other plant to react in the same way. Now there are two spinning boulders uncontrollably. The situation is increasingly dangerous and completely out of control. This chain reaction caused several plants to start spinning their roots in the same way. Trapped in that place, the bald mage casts a spell to protect himself from the impacts. The other does the same, worried about the possibility of being hit. A random little creature passing by was struck by a boulder. It definitely won't be going home today. One of the spinning plants begins to twist again. Slowly, the stones it was spinning return to their original positions. Its root intertwines once more, and among its stones there is a poor creature. The roots immediately begin to consume that body. After the danger passes, they return to normal, and the little creature's body is already dried out. This scene made the mushroom realize the extent of the danger he had faced. Meanwhile, the little pig remains disoriented beside him. The bald mage is not at all pleased with what just happened. Realizing the situation, the mushroom looks in their direction. The hooded one is already prepared to use his lightning. Even though he had protected himself, the bald mage took some damage, which made him furious. The same can be said for the hooded one, who now has fewer teeth in his mouth. Someone would pay the price for this, and the mushroom realizes he will be the target. The humans advance toward him, ready to cause harm. But high in the sky, a flying creature announces its arrival. This is enough to make both of them realize that it might not be worth staying there. They had paid 1,000 coins to a group of mercenaries to delay this bird, but they held out for less time than expected. The bird swoops down at them, fierce. Its flaming feathers are already visible. A massive explosion occurs upon impact, even hurling the plants away. The dust kicked up obscures the mages. Both manage to summon an ice shield. However, the bird remains in the sky, aggressive and determined to attack them. Hiding, the mushroom looks at it with his evaluation skill. His skill is still at a very low level, but he knows that this creature is at level 47. The long-haired one is out of mana and asks the bald one for cover so he can drink a potion. But the bald one is also depleted and won't be able to do much longer. They only had one option left, to use the high-quality potion as their last chance for defense. Before he could react, an attack was perfectly executed. The bald mage now had only half of his friend left to help him. This definitely wasn't the situation he had expected. Now there's not much he can do. Meanwhile, the bird swallows the other half of his friend. The falcon finishes its small meal. Now wants to know the taste of the bald one's flesh. Quickly, he opens a portal through a magic circle. He grabs the largest potion and opens it promptly. The bald mage drinks its contents hurriedly. The falcon approaches him, eager for a snack. He had already accepted his defeat, but won't allow it to be easy. The falcon's dangerous claws draw near, ready. To protect himself, he places the hawk's egg in front of its attack. The bird immediately halts as it knows its offspring is at risk. The brief proximity caused his clothes to burn, and he was pushed back. His whole body trembles from the pressure of the attack that didn't even fully land. This caused him to spit out a bit of blood. It's said that high-level monsters are intelligent, and it seems that's true. The bald mage threatens the creature, saying he will break the egg if he feels threatened. This left the falcon in a vulnerable position. Wielding his staff, he summons a lightning spell. A powerful bolt descends from the sky immediately. Unable to attack, the falcon is struck. Even though it is powerful, the attack is strong enough to injure it. Because of the electricity, it is paralyzed and won't be able to move for a while. He's only doing this for his second class change, and this ingredient is difficult to obtain. But today he can release his frustrations, acquiring the ingredient and defeating a high-level monster. The falcon tries to move, but it is weak. Stepping on the falcon, he says he will now have his revenge on all those who called him worthless. As a form of ego affirmation, he tramples the creature. He says that even though the creature is high level, it is now being stepped on by him. After feeling satisfied, it was time to end it. In his hand, he holds a vial of poison, said to be as potent as the one who created it. He breaks the container with the poison. His eyes fill with a malevolent gleam. With his ice lances, he coats the tip of each one with a toxin. Now he is ready to finish the creature. The ice stakes fly rapidly. There's nothing the creature can do as it is paralyzed. The first one strikes its wing. Soon, the other stakes pierce its body. The falcon agonizes from the pain of the wounds. Now the creature is wounded and paralyzed. It wasn't enough, but if he attacks more, the falcon will eventually die. With almost no strength left in his body, the beast looks at the egg in the bald man's hands. The stone in his staff begins to glow intensely. The man promises that after he finishes off the bird, he will crush all its eggs. Though unable to move, the falcon cries out in rage. From the sky, the lightning is being prepared. Not far away, the mushroom's camouflage had worn off. The bald man is confident that his life is finally going to change for the better, but he is suddenly struck in the neck by an unexpected attack. It was the mushroom who hit him with his charge. The staff stopped blowing, canceling the attack. As a result, the egg in his hands is flung into the air. The falcon looks desperately at its offspring, unable to save it. But the small mushroom manages to prevent it from hitting the ground. This gave the falcon relief as the egg is finally safe. The falcon also knows this, and now the situation is different. It manages to move one of its wings. With it strikes the bald man who cannot defend himself. It was enough to send him flying far from there. He is now leaning against a rock, almost out of strength. He has no idea what happened, but he knows he needs to escape if he wants to stay alive. In one of his hands, he holds a teleportation scroll. But the falcon doesn't intend to let that human escape so easily. A magic circle suddenly appears beneath him. The man begins to burn alive. Soon there is no skin left on his body, only screams and pain. Witnessing this, the mushroom is terrified by the power of the dying bird. The flames burn intensely. As a result of this battle, the falcon had leveled up. Its feathers are majestic and its health is restored. Now the creature is at level 48. It cries out in the meadow, demonstrating its power. Its strength is so great that even the clouds disperse. The mushroom does his best to avoid being blown away. He remains beneath the egg, but now the bird is watching him. In front of him is a powerful creature that he definitely cannot defeat. The mushroom doesn't move under its gaze, and the mother falcon continues to stare at him intensely. But, unexpectedly, the shell of the egg begins to crack. The crack slowly grows. From it emerges a tiny baby falcon. Immediately, the small creature looks around. Stepping out of the egg, it takes its first steps. Looking at where it came from, it sees the mushroom. It seems to give him a smile. Curious, it approaches the mushroom. It nuzzles him affectionately, as if it knows what happened. The powerful bird is thrilled with the birth of its chick. Emotional, it starts approaching it. But as it gets closer, it notices something unusual. Its chick rejects it and kicks its face. A chick is irritated by all the closeness. Sweet and cold, the mushroom asks what it had done to its mother. Two other small creatures approach from there. The falcon mother, her chick, and the mushroom look at them. It's the piglet, and on its back are the other two chicks that had just been born. This made the falcon mother even more emotional and full of love. She approaches to caress her little ones. However, the other two immediately reject her. They are playing with the piglet, thinking it is their real mother. The other chick approaches the mushroom once again. Definitely, they are very cute, although dangerous. The three little ones are playing with the mushroom and the piglet. Meanwhile, the mother watches everything desolate. Great is her suffering for being rejected. Seeing this, the mushroom looks at her thoughtfully, and then it had a brilliant idea. Walking, it asked the piglet to follow. It had approached the falcon mother. Stopping suddenly, those following it ended up bumping into each other. It looks at her closely in the company of her offspring. Although she is emotional, she glares back threateningly. Her intentions are clear before the mushroom. But one of the chicks appears and starts pecking at her. That blow is more painful than poison ice stakes. The three little ones come together as if to protect their small parents. But the mushroom stands between them and their real mother. Looking at them, it firmly says they cannot do that. With a reprimand, the chicks became sad. Having their attention, it performed a horrible dance and ended with a stone in its hands. With some effort, it breaks it. They watch, not understanding much. Pointing to the falcon mother, it says she is their progenitor and risked her life so they could be born. These words made her emotional. With authority, it commanded the chicks to be good and give her a hug. Happy, she received them with her immense wings. In light of this good action, it hopes the falcon mother will return the favor and take them to the mushroom kingdom. With the chicks under her wings, she looks at the mushroom again. Her gaze remains extremely threatening. Now it feels a bit uncertain about its strategy and hopes she will consider being grateful to it. But all she does is turn around and leave. Desolate, the mushroom still hopes she will take them to the mushroom kingdom. However, all it sees is them moving away into the horizon. In the distance, the chicks look back. The falcon mother does the same, with her intimidating gaze. She says the mushroom is bold as it is a low-level monster and wants to give her orders. It did not expect that creature to be able to speak, and more than that, by its voice, it is clearly a male. Concern weighs on it brutally, and the small mushroom starts to sway cold. The falcon steps in its direction. He wants to know what qualifications the mushroom has to make demands before him. Walking, it felt there was something wrong with its body. The bird ended up spitting some blood. Its chicks watched the scene worried. It seems its wounds were too extensive, and it begins to tremble, until his body succumbs and falls to the ground. This unexpected result left everyone worried. The little chicks approach the falcon. The bird is so weakened it can barely keep its eyes open. Worried, it looks at the mushroom and the piglet as if they were wrongdoers. As hours passed, night fell over the prairie. The falcon starts to wake up gradually. Regaining its senses, it looks at the nearby source of warmth. Its three chicks are inside the bonfire. This unusual scene makes it panic, but the chicks are fine. They were just sleeping. Realizing this, it calms down again. Near the source of fire, the piglet sleeps deeply. This left the falcon completely indignant. Once awake, it forces itself to try to stand up, but its legs are still trembling. Despite its great effort, it falls back to the ground. The pain it feels throughout its body is devastating. Not even leveling up was able to cleanse its body of that synthetic toxin. Close to it, it heard the sound of some flasks clinking. The creature looks intrigued at the source of the sound. The mushroom, with its small hands, pulls some things from its bag. On the ground before it, there are various items and gold coins too. Seeing all that, the falcon addresses the mushroom. With a mischievous smile, it says the bird has finally woken up. Then it starts walking towards him with a vial in hand. As a cautious creature, the bird immediately became wary of the mushroom. It simply ignored her and forced the contents of the vial down her throat. That was hateful. It didn't even have the strength to resist the actions of a low-level monster. However, immediately felt something change. That potion made its stamina gradually increase. It was good the falcon hadn't eaten the entire body of one of them, for there was the antidote, but it would take time to take effect, so it should rest. Knowing the situation was unusual, it asked why the mushroom had saved it, but it says that if it hadn't done that, there would be no one to take care of his offspring. And thanks to what it did, they are all safe there. The falcon looks at its chicks, moved. Even with the antidote administered, it still struggles to stand. Looking at it, the mushroom said it had no ill intentions and only wanted to go to the Mushroom Kingdom, as it was just passing through. But a falcon is staring intently at its chicks. It says the path is full of dangers, and even if they manage to get there, as a mushroom, it will be fine, but it cannot stay the same for the piglet. Meanwhile, she dreams of delicious foods. However, the mushroom didn't understand what the falcon had said. It continues, saying the Mushroom King is a famous creature. Not only humans, but any creature that approaches its kingdom is attacked without question. That's why it was outraged when the mushroom asked to be taken there, as it already knew it was dangerous. While it was reflecting, the falcon approached the mushroom. This made it terribly frightened, and it asked what the falcon wanted with it. Frightened, it immediately steps back. The falcon, however, says it's a very strange monster. Not understanding that, it thought the strange one, there was really that bird. A common mushroom, like it should be a mindless existence, but that is not the case. A low-level and intelligent monster is rare. It would be the perfect supplement for its chicks. That left the small mushroom even more scared. But the falcon lets out a loud laugh. It said it was just kidding, but the mushroom almost released its spores involuntarily. It's not like humans, who destroy everything just to satisfy their selfish desires. The mushroom knows they once lived peacefully in the past and wants to know why they don't return to those days. Humans only need the eggshells, but they break them before they hatch. That's how it lost all its previous broods. Even in other worlds, humans remain despicable. Just remembering this fills the falcon with rage. It made it scream again, and a flaming aura enveloped its entire body. Even so, its brood sleeps peacefully. It looks at them, worried. This time, its brood only survived because of the mushroom, and for that, it thanks it. Frightened by that reaction, it said it's no problem at all. That way, it would take it to the Mushroom Kingdom the next day, so it asked it to rest well. Alright was already thinking about resting, but it finally realizes what the falcon had said. All happy, it wants to know if the falcon will really take them to the Mushroom Kingdom. It indeed will, but it's better to shut up before it changes its mind. Excited, it asked the bird to sleep because there are still some things to do before it can rest. Suspicious, the bird looks at it, wanting to know what that small creature is plotting. There are many ingredients there, and it should taste some before leaving. In its hands is some gel from the slimes it captured. It adds it to the potion it's making. Next to the dish, it placed a stone. Calmly, it climbed it with its small legs. To prepare, it started swinging its large bag. Touching its rear to the liquid, it used the decomposition skill. That way, it began to absorb everything there. It required a lot of effort, even though it was simple. Then it started to vomit a liquid into a vial. It was so disgusting the bird couldn't wash without having a reaction. From its mouth, a bit of vomit dripped, and its rear is wet from that potion. It calmly approached the bird, saying they would need a lot from it and that this is a stamina potion. Just imagining drinking that makes the bird burn with disgust. Now it has some items, a teleportation scroll, almost 500 coins, and several potions. At dawn the next day, the falcon is already in the air. He flies smoothly, and in his claws are the mushroom and the piglet. The mushroom asks his friend not to be afraid and to listen to everything he says as soon as they arrive. She agrees with a friendly grunt. The falcon says they are close and should prepare to land. He begins his descent toward the ground. The mushroom is terrified, while the piglet enjoys the sensation. Thus, they get closer and closer to the ground. The mushroom could barely handle the excitement of descending. His friend, on the other hand, is fascinated by the landscape. Recovering himself, he finally sees the Mushroom Kingdom. The place is large and surrounded by protective walls. The kingdom stretches over a vast circular area. As it gets closer, the falcon notices they are being attacked. To evade it, he asks his passengers to hold on tight. They momentarily hug at this command. Soon, the falcon begins to descend even faster. A jet that appears to be made of mud almost hits them, but the bird fills its mouth prepared to defend itself. It unleashes a powerful burst of magical fire. The impact prevents them from being hit. The little mushroom wants to know what's attacking them. The falcon's response is categorical. They are his kind. Hovering in the air, the smoke from the impact dissipates. Below them, it is possible to see creatures on the walls. Several mushrooms are positioned there like artillery. The mage is ready to act, and the small mushrooms go to their positions. He is at level 44, calm and serene, and uses his magic to make other mushrooms evolve. With a wand in hand, he begins to recite an incantation. Then he touches the mushroom next to him. The little one starts vibrating. It doesn't take long for the vibrations to turn into jumps. It finally transformed into another mushroom full of thorns. It is an explosive mushroom that self-destructs and can take down creatures twice its level. This one is at 24, so it hops a bit in another direction. Now it's lodged at the tip of a cannon. The cannon mushroom is at level 36. It usually shoots mucus, but in its absence, it can fire other objects or mushrooms. Its nose starts to itch. The need to sneeze grows stronger. Once inevitable, it takes more and more breath. Its cannon retracts because of this, until it finally sneezes with relief, launching the explosive mushroom into the sky. Several of these shots are fired. The falcon needs to protect itself, or the result could be fatal. It knows this and waits for the moment to act. Skillfully, it manages to dodge all of them. Up high, the mushrooms that missed stop flying. They immediately explode, releasing spores into the air toward the falcon. That sudden spore explosion forces the falcon to take urgent evasive measures. To trigger self-destruction, the mushroom needs to pull a lever on its body. Once done, it starts glowing as if engulfed by a great heat. These are the creatures he needs to dodge, and there's one dangerously close. The situation forces the falcon to use a magical ability once again, creating a wall of fire. This way, he manages to prevent all the spores from hitting him. His magic lasts long enough not only to protect him, but its formation serves as a distraction for him to continue fleeing. They had already passed through the outer layer, and he will leave them in the inner layer. After that, they are on their own. However, they didn't hear anything because they are completely stunned by the falcon's evasive maneuvers. Quickly, he is already approaching the destination point. That's when he realizes something is wrong. The closer he gets to the city, the more he senses the imminent danger. This makes him halt his progression. Stammering, the mushroom wants to know if they have reached their destination. Unfortunately, he can only take them this far. If he goes any further, he certainly won't be able to return. Faced with this, the mushroom wants to know where they are. Without an answer, it felt the falcon's claws dropping him in the air. For a brief moment, they didn't understand anything that was happening. Now he and the piglet are in free fall, but she seems to be loving the experience. As they get closer to the ground, they are also getting closer to a rainbow. The little mushroom hits it with its head. After the first impact, both start sliding down it as if it were a slide. The further they go down, the more they feel that characteristic tickle in their stomachs. They are almost reaching the ground. After bouncing a few times on the grass, the two are finally sitting on the lawn. They remain still, meaning to process everything they just experienced. They felt intense emotions in a short time. The piglet loved the process. Her friend, on the other hand, wished for death. Looking back, he thanked God for not having died. It didn't take long for them to feel a slight tremor in the ground. The tremor grew stronger, making them look at that boulder. Another one also began to vibrate alongside it. There, in that innocent grassy field, they were surrounded by enormous stone mushrooms. The terrifying scene left him petrified. But one of them hesitated, unsure of what to do, and the piglet looked at them innocently. It took a moment for one of them to realize she wasn't a mushroom. But as soon as it noticed, it started shouting angrily. That served as an alert, and now they all knew there was an intruder there. The little mushroom knew they were reacting that way because of the piglet. Brave, she stands firmly on the ground, unafraid. In response, the mushroom gave her a knock on the head as she shouldn't react to that provocation. The best they could do now was run with everything they had. Immediately, the boulders jump into the air. They begin to chase the intruder. They aren't that fast, but unfortunately, they are quite numerous. On the path they were following, more boulders appeared. Not wanting to run into them, they turn around to change direction. And once again, they changed course because there were more hostile mushrooms. Unfortunately, they were now completely surrounded. There was no other option but to take a risk. The little mushroom uses its spore explosion, creating a large cloud of them. The closest boulders can't figure out where they are. One of them looks at the mist, puzzled. The others are the same, as they don't know what happened to the intruders. Within the mist, the mushroom takes some slime jelly and spreads it on the piglet's back. On top of her, he placed part of a mushroom, and he gathered a few more from the ground. While the mist persisted, he worked hard to camouflage her. Around them, the boulders remained, waiting to see where they were. With a confident smile, he told them there was a misunderstanding. As they started to see him partially, they grew angry again. The little mushroom asked for calm and said they were a big family. Seeing this, those who were previously hostile now seemed intrigued. The mushroom introduced them to a new species, the piglet mushroom, which appeared visibly uncomfortable with everything on her body. The scene was too complex for their understanding. One of the mushrooms unfortunately detached from her, and it broke upon hitting the ground. But they still didn't know what that creature was. The little mushroom said she was shedding, which was normal for that species. They began walking calmly while the others were unsure how to react or perhaps were admiring this new being. Once they gained some distance, they started running. Their luck in getting away unscathed was due to the immense stupidity that filled the boulder's understanding. Even so, he felt proud of the disguise because an ordinary mushroom wouldn't have noticed anything. A figure that was there said he was an interesting guy. This made them alert, and the mushroom asked who was there. The samurai thought that it was a monster controlled by a human. He observed them from above, curious about what he saw. From the evaluation, he knew it was Shaitakenobi or samurai, but couldn't gather any additional information. Not even being able to see its level, he knew he couldn't deceive this creature with cheap tricks. Realizing the assessment, he said that only humans have that ability and that he wasn't wrong about him. Trying to avoid conflict, he said they were all mushrooms here and that there was no need for anything aggressive. The samurai had thrown his hat toward him. The object was almost reaching them. Unable to react against such a powerful being, he just closed his eyes. That samurai had already passed by them without them noticing. Then they heard the sound of his sword returning to its sheath. With his other hand, he caught his hat. There is nothing more to be said. With him protecting that territory, there is no chance for intruders to pass. He is Cage, one of the 4 great generals. But the little mushroom says there was a misunderstanding. However, he notices he has lost a large amount of health. An imperceptible strike had split him into 2 halves. The piglet watches her friend split, unresponsive. His pieces fall before her, lifeless. She can no longer hold back her emotions. The disguise she was wearing fell to the ground. All that remains in the little piglet now is rage. Furious, she begins grunting uncontrollably. Her fury drives her to charge at the samurai. Fearless, she launches her attack, ready to end everything. Without losing his calm and focus, the samurai says all intruders deserve to die. The blow with the sword's hilt was so fast that she only realized it had happened. With devastating results, she can no longer react. The piglet is on the ground, unaware of her surroundings. Meanwhile, the samurai's blade is raised, ready to take her life. He places both hands on his sword, preparing to execute. Focused, he is ready to end the creature's suffering. However, by a twist of fate, he hears a trumpet being blown. The sound echoes throughout the area, catching his attention. This is not an ordinary call, and the samurai needs to hurry. He immediately forgets what he was about to do and returns to the city center. The ground begins to shake intensely. Even the boulders respond to the trumpet's call. They do their best to move quickly. On the grassy field, only the unconscious piglet and the 2 halves of the mushroom remain. His small body still lies motionless. However, soon the space between them begins to fill. This way, his small body rejoins. He had come back to life without understanding how. Even so, he is sure that he had died and that he no longer had any resurrection coins. Regaining his senses, he realizes the piglet is unconscious. Terrified, he goes to her to see if she's okay. Fear grips the mushroom